Well, we'll see if that shakes out for him. All right, Johnny Mac, let's move into the joint practice today a little bit more so. Best matchups to watch. We'll talk about some of those. John always gives you the good breakdown on what to really watch for, what matters and what doesn't. A lot of people jump to the territory of things that don't matter. John, I'll go here. Offense is something we've talked about a lot. Eagles passing offense versus New England's defense. This is the biggest one for me. I think it's probably the biggest one for everybody. Forget the individual matchups, though, for a second. I'd like to see Hurts, Mannion, and this offense against the defense that they're not practicing against every day. You're going to get different looks, different things of that nature. Sean Mannion spoke about that on Monday. What do you make of that matchup today for the Eagles joint practice versus the Patriots?
Yeah, well, good secondary. Obviously, Christian Gonzalez, if he's out there, I know he's dealing with something. I don't know what, but one of the best cornerbacks in football. So that's going to be a big test. We'll see if Devontae's out there. Obviously, if Wicks is getting a lot of Christian Gonzalez, you want to see if he can separate. With his strength being route running, he's not going to be able to outrun him, obviously. And their other corner, Carlton Davis, is pretty good as well. So Marcus Jones, a slot guy, great returner, by the way. But so pretty good secondary. Up front, they're really good in the middle and on the interior with Milton and Christian Barmore. Their pass rushers are kind of like, Draymond Jones, Harold Landry, Gabe Jacobs, he's a rookie. So, I mean, you would think they could hold up when it comes to the edge rush. Christian Ellis, one of their linebackers, one of Howie's rare mistakes when he waived him. Robert Spillane, so not terribly athletic there. So maybe Dallas Goedert can get some things going. But overall, a very good defense. I think, again, poor schedule. I think they gave up. I think they were number 3 in points allowed. So they were really effective last year on defense. And Vrabel's just a good defensive coach. I mean, if he's your head coach, you're going to have a good defense. And that's pretty much where they are. So it's a good test for an offense that is, I don't know, how would you describe it? Average, to be kind.
Yeah.
So, if they can do well against a defense that's above average, that would be a positive and a sign of getting better. And they should have plenty of, although, none of the starters were out there in Baltimore, and they're the vast majority, they're going to get the vast majority of the reps. So, I don't know if they'll have a sense of urgency, but you hope they do.
Yeah, obviously. How much can you see in a joint practice like this from the O line, John, and the D line, like that they're going up against? I mean, because normally, they don't. I mean, is it more physical than your normal team practice?
Oh,
Obviously.
yeah. You'll probably see a couple fights, I would think. At least, football fights, not like Milton and Fred, but, some pushing and
No,
shoving.
Morrow and Fred. Milton's on your mind because
Yeah,
he's
sorry,
he's
Milton's on
part
my
of the
mind.
practice
Morrow.
today.
The next Milton, Morrow. Yeah, Morrow and Fred. So yeah, you'll see somebody. I mean, they're gonna go full bore on the offense. What you can't figure out is, would Saquon have been tackled? They're not going to tackle to the ground. So would that have been a 4-yard gain or a 14-yard gain? That stuff you can't tell. Jalen Hurts extending plays, you can't tell. Would he have gotten out of this sack or not when they blow the whistle? That's the kind of stuff you can't judge at practice. But you should they're going to go full bore, offensive line, defensive line. So everything's live except the tackling, basically, which is a big part of football. But so it's hard to call it live, but that's what they'll call it. But you'll be able to see the pass rush and whether they're getting beat, both sides, um, or vice versa. So the guys who are there should be able to garner quite a bit of information.
Should be interesting to see how the Eagles offense, holds up today versus New England. John, on the other side of the ball for the Eagles defense, I know it's, the drama-focused angle, but I do think there is a real football angle to it. Quinion, Tariq Woolen, Cooper DeJean, one of them is going to be lined up versus A.J. Brown, maybe all of them, depending on what rep it is and how many different reps they get. But this is kind of the sexy matchup that everyone will be talking about. But from a real football perspective, I do think it's good to see how this secondary holds up against the true, obviously, number one alpha receiver. It's going to be interesting to see how that matchup goes today at joint practices. What say you?
Yeah, well, number one, we got to see what Eagles corners are playing. I presume that Quinion and Cooper will be out there since they were back on Monday. Will they have a full load of reps? That may not be the case. So you'll have to be very cognizant of who's out there for the Eagles. Because obviously New England, more of a vertical approach, I would say, than the Eagles. So, Drake May is going to throw the football down the field to AJ and Romeo Dobbs. So, is he doing it against Quinion or is he doing it against, even we don't know if Jacorian Bennett's going to be out there. Tariq Castro-Fields has been limited. Jonathan Jones is not going to practice. Mac McWilliams is not going to practice. So you're probably going to be down to the Keely Ringos, the Ambry Thomases, and the Sean Wades of the world. So my point is, if AJ does have a big day, or even Romeo Dobbs has a big day, be very cognizant of the names mentioned. If it's Ringo, if it's Thomas, if it's Wade, don't get too upset. Those guys are deep on the depth chart. They have so many injuries.
If AJ Brown beats Tariq Castro-Fields, I don't think.
I don't even know if Tariq. He's limited. He was limited. He was back in a limited fashion on Monday, so I don't even know if he's going to be out. He's had a pretty good camp for a lower level corner, but I don't even know if he's going to practice. So they have a lot of injuries to the point. That's why they signed Isaiah Bolden off the streets, because they just needed corners to practice. That's how up against it they are at cornerback. So that's what we're talking about.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I do think it's it's a good matchup for this Eagles secondary, and obviously everybody has a lot of confidence in the defense. But good tests are good tests, so we'll see what that looks like today out there. John, also on the defensive side of the ball, the pass rush. What are you looking to see from there? I think the Patriots. I don't know, how good is their O-line? I know they drafted a couple dudes. They have that Will Campbell. How good is their O-line? I'm trying to think. I think they were pretty good last year. I know Will Campbell got ragged around a little bit in the playoffs, but what do you think of make of that Eagles pass rush today versus that New England O-line?
Yeah, it should be a big advantage for the Eagles. It's not a great offensive line. Barrett Tucker, as I said, is a good player, but he's always hurt. And Will Campbell, he got a lot of crap for the postseason, but he was playing hurt, and that was legitimate. People weren't making that up. He was playing through a significant injury, so he probably shouldn't have played, and he looked bad doing it. So, he'll be a focus in New England because, playing left tackle and the way he ended the year, it'll be a big focus. They lost Bradbury's not that good anyway. He's in Chicago. So Jared Wilson is their center. Then you have Mike Onwenu at right guard, and they just signed Greg Van Roten, which tells you how things are going there. And Morgan Moses, who's good but not great at right tackle. And they also drafted late in the first round Caleb Lomu. So they have some depth, at least from an upside standpoint. But I would say it's an average offensive line, and the Eagles have a very good defensive front. So you say advantage Eagles.
Agree with you on that for sure. All right, we'll see what it looks